This right here is the iCade Core. This right here is the iCade Mobile. These, of course, are successors to the iCade arcade cabinet, which we saw before, which is little mini version of an arcade machine made out of wood with Bluetooth controls that wirelessly connect it to an iPad and essentially serve as gaming controls for that device. The iCade Core right here is a pretty straight successor to that device, although I believe that the two of them are actually going to coexist peacefully. It has essentially the same controller array. It's got the joystick. It's got the 8 buttons right here. And again, syncs wirelessly over Bluetooth. It's kind of a little bit of a complicated Bluetooth pairing. You can see down here it involves you mashing essentially a lot of keys together and moving these around. All the buttons here have little numbers that correspond to the different directions for syncing. Otherwise, I found that the button selection is I only in most of the games that I played, I only ended up using 1 or 2 buttons. So a lot of this is overkill. But I guess better to have too many buttons than too few. Obviously it's a much smaller device. It's pretty light. It's made out of a pretty lightweight, I would say fairly plasticky feeling plastic on this device. So it doesn't really feel high end despite the price. It's $100, which actually prices this at the same as the arcade cabinet. So this is pretty much all you get for buttons up here. So you can see in the rest of the device, there's really aren't any other. You got your little power right there. Otherwise, this thing runs off of AA batteries. It does a trick. Once you get it connected, works pretty well, so can't really complain too much. But hopefully at some point in the near future, Ion's going to see fit to price this thing a little bit cheaper. This right here is the iCade Mobile. Let me grab an iPhone and show you how this guy works. So we'll stick in paper monsters. Gotta sort of jam it into this little rubber case in the middle. We'll also fit an iPod Touch. It's got a little rubber orthotic inside to fit it in there. One of the nice things about this device is it actually moves. So any direction you can do landscape or portrait, which is pretty helpful because some of the games only go in portrait mode. So it's nice having that dual functionality on this device. Similar button array as the iCade Core and the arcade cabinet. It's got a little D-pad right there and 8 buttons on it essentially. So you got the 4 up here. You got 2 shoulder buttons right there, and then 2 more shoulder buttons in the rear. It's a little bit large. It's kind of unwieldy. It's pretty heavy, especially when you add the batteries in the back. And actually, speaking of batteries, one of the interesting things here is that it's got this little screw right there, which makes it a little bit difficult to remove the battery backing. This is the power right here for the Bluetooth, so we'll turn that on. Once you've already synced it and got it going. But once you've fired it up, it works pretty well. You can see that it's on right there. It's got the blue power light. Again, like the iCade Core, sort of the same thing where, for the most part, we noticed, that you didn't really need all these buttons. But again, better to have too many buttons than too few. Works as advertised. Does feel a little bit overpriced, like the iCade Core. This thing's gonna run you $80. So $20 cheaper than the Core and $20 cheaper than the arcade cabinet. But being that this also feels a little bit cheap as well, could arguably say it's overpriced. But as with both of these guys, if you're looking for a way to do some gaming on your iPhone or iPad, and don't want to rely solely on the touchscreen, these things both do the job.